Hey everyone, welcome back to Darren Tumbles. Today we're talking about what I would call the Simone Biles of Brazil. And if you don't immediately know who I'm talking about, we're talking about Rebeca Andrade. And the whole point I want to get across with this video is even though she has suffered from many serious injuries, she's still at like the peak of gymnastics. Rebeca has had so many setbacks from injuries that if those never happened, I honestly think she could beat Simone Biles, and she still does sometimes. By the way, you may have noticed a new space around me. It's because I moved, and I was hoping that my cat, Chief, would hop up on the bed and sleep here, but he found a sunbeam instead and decided to nap in that. So without any other delays, let's get into the video. Rebeca was born May 8th, 1999 in Guarulhos, hope I'm saying that right, Brazil. Her first experience with gymnastics is when she was only 4 years old and she went to the gym that her aunt worked at. Rebeca was one of 8 children, so she had 7 siblings. That's a lot. When she was only 9 years old, she moved to train at a better gym, and then a year later, at 10 years old, she moved to Rio de Janeiro to train at an even better gym. So from a young age, I think her coaches, her parents saw talent in her, and I'm sure she just loved gymnastics. So they really just ran with that and put her on a path towards success. And a fun fact about Rebeca is she speaks both Portuguese and English. In 2012, Rebeca made her international debut as a junior level gymnast. And right off the bat, she was getting a medal at every competition. Not only was she putting a lot of difficulty into her routines, but she was also very consistent, which is so hard to do because that's not necessarily physical strength, but also mental strength to be consistent. So she was having a wonderful debut in 2012 and 2013 as an international gymnast, but right before the Youth Summer Olympics, she broke her toe, and that was in 2014. Rebeca really excelled at every event. I'm not saying she medaled at every single competition on every single event, but Rebeca didn't really have a weak spot. She was able to excel in every event, which made her a very dominant all-around competitor. Since Rebeca broke her toe, she did not compete the rest of 2014 and just focused on healing, because obviously you're going to need your toes when you're flipping all the time. In 2015, Rebeca healed from her toe injury and made her debut as a senior level gymnast. Even though she had just been injured, she won some medals at some smaller competitions, but unfortunately she tore her ACL for the first time in June of 2015, which caused her to miss the Pan American Games and the World Championships. And if you guys don't know about ACL tears, well, let me fill you in because it actually happened to me. Your ACL is a ligament in your knee that holds your bones together, basically. And it's a very common injury to tear it in gymnastics because gymnasts are often twisting right into the ground, and if they don't land just right, then your knee bends the wrong way, and that's how you tear that ligament. And being an athlete, Rebeca definitely wanted to return to gymnastics, so the only option for her was surgery, which for me, in my case, was they take a part of your quad muscle and build that into your new ACL. It's a pretty intense surgery, and the recovery time that the doctors told me was 8 months to get back to where I was before with tumbling and flipping. So definitely a major setback for Rebeca, and I'm sure that was just devastating for her. Now, what's really crazy that I learned while researching this video is that in 2016, she went into the Olympics right after that ACL surgery. Not right after, like she, went through the protocol and did the 8 months physical therapy and returned to the sport slowly, but basically right after she was completely healed, it was like, boom, Olympics. To go through that transformation of not even being able to walk to competing on the biggest stage in the world is Crazy. So at the Olympics, Rebecca had very good performances in the qualification round, which determines which athletes will be competing in the event finals and the all around competition. Rebecca actually qualified third in the all around competition behind Simone Biles and Aly Raisman. Again, this is only a year after reconstructive ACL surgery. Unfortunately, her performances in the event and all around final and team final just weren't as great as her qualification rounds, so she did not get any medals at this Olympics. Even though her Olympic performances that year weren't great, she started to make a name for herself, and it was only the jumping off point for her career. In 2017, Rebecca had a good start to the competition year, but unfortunately, she hurt her ankle, which resulted in her having to wear a medical boot for 2 months. With all these leg and ankle and toe injuries she kept having, I think that really gave her time to focus on uneven bars, since that's using more of your upper body. And she probably didn't see this at the time, but now in the year 2024, you can tell that that time where she was healing from those leg injuries was really beneficial, because it raised how much difficulty she could put in her uneven bars routines. Rebecca was set to compete at the World Championships this year, but unfortunately she tore her ACL for a second time while warming up for podium training. And I can't imagine how heartbroken she was. She had worked so hard to get back to the level she was at and was finally starting to add more difficulty into her routines, only for the same injury to happen again. After you tear an ACL one time, it does become a little bit easier for that ACL to tear again. And so I just hope her coaches at the time were taking an extra careful look at her practice plans to make sure that she wasn't pushing herself too hard. Rebecca then had to basically restart the process that she had already been through with her first ACL tear. She had to go through surgery again, physical therapy again, and build up all her strength to get back to where she was. However, in 2018, she did start competing internationally again. She competed at the Pan American Games, where the Brazilian team finished silver behind the United States. And this year was the first time that Rebecca finally was able to compete at a world championship. But around this time, I think her and her coaches were being more careful with what gymnastics she did, because they didn't want to get her injured again. Oftentimes through these years, she would not compete on floor, which I think is a really smart and safe decision. So much like her first Olympic experience, the World Championships, she qualified well, but then when the final performances came, the Brazilian team had a lot of falls, and she did not receive any medals from that World Championship. Even though the Brazilian team did not win gold, having her there built up the Brazilian gymnastics program so much that in modern day, they are much more successful than where they would have been if Rebecca had quit gymnastics after any of her injuries. Then in 2019, at the Brazilian Gymnastics Championships, Rebecca tore her ACL for a third time. And keep in mind, this is all on her right knee. This major setback caused Rebecca to miss the 2019 World Championships. Without Rebecca, the Brazilian team was off their A game, and they finished 14th in the team final, which meant they did not qualify for the 2020 Olympic Games. I can't even imagine tearing the same ACL 3 separate times, going through 3 separate surgeries, 3 different periods of physical therapy. That is so mentally challenging. I mean, I have to imagine that the fear of tearing her ACL was in the back of her mind that whole time. Once it happens once, that fear doesn't go away. So she had to overcome that fear, not once, not twice, but 3 times. It's just mind-blowing. And like I said, the doctors literally take part of your leg muscle to build that new knee ligament. So the physical challenges too are insane. You basically lose a big part of muscle in that leg and have to start over from zero. And she did that 3 times. Also, at this point in her career, Rebecca had missed so many major competitions, many world championships, because of her injuries. And I think if she would have gotten more experience at major competitions, I think we would have seen her be even more dominant in gymnastics and pretty much medal at every single event. But because she had injury after injury after injury, of course she's not going to be as strong as someone who hasn't gone through 3 ACL surgeries. But even with those setbacks, she still managed to perform very well at these smaller international competitions, which kept her name known. People were very interested in how she kept coming back from these setbacks and was still a dominant player. In 2020, Rebeca once again started her comeback to gymnastics and was competing, but we all know that the COVID-19 pandemic swept the world and pretty much everything was shut down. So unfortunately, she didn't get to train much or compete much that year either. And in December of 2020, Rebeca herself got COVID-19, but luckily she was asymptomatic. But I think that just adds to her long list of injuries and setbacks that kept her from gymnastics. Okay, so now we're getting into the part of Rebeca's gymnastics career where she really started to soar and take off. So you might remember me saying that the Brazilian team did not qualify for the Olympics in 2019, but the Olympics were pushed back a year because of the COVID-19 pandemic, which gave Rebeca a chance to then qualify herself to the Olympic Games as an individual. So in 2021 at the Pan American Games, Rebeca actually won gold in the all-around competition, which earned her a spot in the 2021 Olympic Games. It's just crazy how that worked out for her too. Like, I'm sure in 2019 when she tore her ACL for a third time, she thought, great, I'm gonna miss out on the Olympics. This is my worst nightmare. This is the worst thing that could have happened to me. But she was able to heal just in time to then re-qualify for the Olympics. In the 2021 Olympic qualification round, Rebeca qualified second in the all-around competition behind Simone Biles. But as many of you know, Simone Biles withdrew from the Olympic Games because of the twisties, which meant Rebeca was going into the all-around competition as the #1 competitor. This was super exciting to see, especially because Rebeca had all these injuries in her past, but was finally getting the chance to show us all the things that she had worked on. But in the all-around competition, it all came down to the last routine, and basically Rebeca was too powerful on her floor routine and ended up going out of bounds on 2 of her tumbling passes. Like, it wasn't even an issue of, like, was she good enough? She was good, she landed all her skills, but she was so strong that she overpowered her skills. Similar to what we see from Simone Biles often. And while that's not ideal, she still got a silver medal in the all-around competition behind Sunisa Lee. And now keep in mind, the other gymnasts who were competing in that competition definitely have not torn their ACL 3 times in their gymnastics career. So now Rebeca had a silver medal. Getting that silver medal was the first Olympic medal that a Brazilian gymnast had ever won. That medal alone put her at the very top of Brazilian gymnastics. At the same Olympic Games, Rebeca was also the first Brazilian gymnast to win a gold medal, and this was at the vault final, where she had an average score of 15.083 and performed some immaculate vaults. Like I said, she saves her hardest skills and routines for these major competitions. So many people didn't even see her compete all around for years, but then here she comes. She's like, oh yeah, I've been training this whole time and I can hang with the best of y'all. Even after her success at the 2021 Olympics, Rebeca continued to train and compete that year, which I'm sure she was eager to do after so many injuries. At the World Championships later that year, she won gold on the vault final. Also at these World Championships, Rebeca was the first Brazilian gymnast to qualify for an uneven bars final at a World Championships. At the event final, Rebeca won silver, which made her the first Brazilian gymnast to win a medal at the World Championship level on an uneven bar event final. In the balance beam event final, Rebeca finished 6th, which is tied for the best Brazilian finish in a balance beam event final at the World Championships. The other Brazilian gymnast that's done that is Flavia Saraiva. Let me know if you guys want me to make a video on her, because she is one of the other powerhouses coming out of Brazilian gymnastics. At this World Championships, Rebeca chose not to compete floor, which I think is interesting considering she had just competed on floor at the Olympics. But since she had had 3 ACL tears already, I think her and her coaches really prioritize her longevity in the sport. Then in 2022, Rebeca competed with the Brazilian team at the Pan American Games, where the Brazilian team won gold over America. And that was the first time that had happened since 1997 with the help of Rebeca Andrade. Now that she could finally be a part of the team and didn't have to keep missing because of injuries, she could really help Brazil in excelling. At this competition, again, Rebeca chose not to compete her floor routine, which we've already said is a very smart decision. Later in 2022, at the World Championships in Liverpool, Rebeca won the all-around gold medal ahead of Shailesh Jones and Jessica Gadarova. And this meant Rebeca was now the first South American gymnast to win a world all-around title. Now that Rebeca is staying more injury-free, she really started amassing a lot of fans during this time after the Olympics. And now she's basically a celebrity in Brazil, which I think is great because she's like the prime example of get knocked down, get back up. I think she's just a wonderful person with an amazing work ethic, and a lot of young gymnasts and really anybody could learn a lot from her. In 2023 at the World Championships in Antwerp, the Brazilian team, with the help of Rebeca, finished silver in the team competition behind America. This was the first team medal that Brazil had ever won at a World Championships. At these World Championships, Rebeca finished second in the all-around competition behind Simone Biles, which, even though she finished second, that's still huge. Like, she gave Simone Biles a run for her money, which not many gymnasts can do. Not many people can even get close to Simone Biles. Yet here comes Rebeca after 3 major knee injuries, still being at the top of her game. Also at these World Championships, Rebeca won gold on the event final. She also won bronze on the balance beam and silver on the floor final. Now that she's staying injury-free, we're all seeing what she's truly capable of. And what she's capable of is getting medals on basically every event. Also in 2023 at the Pan American Games, Rebeca competed what is widely known as the best Chang vault ever, which I have a video on if you wanted to go check it out. And of course, this resulted in her winning gold in the vault final. And that pretty much brings us to 2024, where Rebeca is still training, still getting ready for the next Olympic Games, which is so exciting because she's been healthy for so long. She's just gotten so much stronger. One more cool fact that really sums up Rebeca Andrade's contribution to the world of gymnastics is she's one of only 11 women to ever medal in every single event at a world championship. Some of those other notable women include Simone Biles and Aliyah Mustafina, who are legends all on their own, and Rebeca has definitely earned her spot amongst those legends. So if we take a look at Rebeca's whole career, her first Olympics, not great, but she was healing from injuries. Second Olympics in 2021, amazing, even though she had more injuries she'd gone through at that point, but she did spectacular. And now leading into the 2024 games, there's been a lot of bumps along the road, but overall, I think her trajectory just keeps getting better and better and better. She already has so many titles, has won so many medals that no other Brazilian gymnast has. She's definitely gonna be remembered for all her contributions to this sport. The more I learned about Rebeca's story, the more impressed I got. I mean, I was already so impressed by her, that's why I decided to make this video. But learning everything she's gone through, I think makes her one of the greatest of all time. And it's not like she comes from a country that was super well known for gymnastics. She had to create that legacy, which is arguably much harder than coming from a country that already is very established in the world of gymnastics. So let me know what you guys think about Rebeca's story. Have you had any major setbacks like she has, and were you able to come back from it? Me personally, I'm still in the process of coming back from an ACL surgery. I'm only like 6 months post-op. but I often look at Rebecca for inspiration. I think if she can tear her ACL 3 times and compete at the Olympics after, I can heal from this. So I think her having that experience just makes her a role model for a wide range of people. Anyways, that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed, please leave a like, comment, or subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.